Hi guys, buenos dias or whatever. Welcome back to my channel, and yes, I'm saying welcome back because the OGs know I had another YouTube channel. However, I did forget the password to that YouTube channel, so here we are. Today is December 25th, 2023. Merry Christmas! For those who don't celebrate Christmas, happy holidays and also happy new year. So listen, this is a judgment. My channel is always going to be a judgment-free zone, so don't you dare make a comment about my nails because I'm gonna get them done when I don't know. So today's video, it is kind of different. This video is not for me. This is purely for God's glory that I'm doing this. Everything that happened to me in my life, God allowed it to happen, and by God's grace I am still alive and standing today. And I also pray that the Holy Spirit can use my testimony as a way to draw people to Christ. I just want to be in His presence, and I want Him to guide this moment that we're going to spend together. Alright, let's get into it. So, for those who already know, my childhood consisted mostly of myself, my biological dad, as well as my older brother. Same mom, same dad. So, I am born in Montreal, Quebec. I lived in Montreal for like a year, and then my family moved to Toronto when I was about 1 year old. In Toronto, my biological mom did die in a car crash, unfortunately. She was the driver. There was me and my brother in the car. My brother didn't have a scratch, but I came out with a scar on my forehead, which probably answers a lot of people's questions who may have been too afraid to ask me, which is fine. If I just talk about that for a bit, till this day, I have doctors that, like, whenever I go to a clinic or whenever I go to a doctor, doctors always tell me that that is impossible. It's impossible that I survived, like the way that the car was positioned and stuff like that. Like, my skull was fractured, and at 2 years old, my skull isn't even fully developed yet, so you shouldn't have even survived. And honestly, like, already there, that's just a testimony itself, just to show you that, like, God's plan always prevailed. God had better plans and bigger plans, greater plans for me. God spared my life at already 2 years old, which I will already be grateful for, and I ought to not forget it, because every time I look in the mirror, that is one of the first things that God has ever done for me. If we fast forward, just because I don't want to get into my childhood like today. My dad got remarried in 2008. We moved, I would say, like around 15, even younger. I would say like 13, 15. It is normal for a girl to be interested in boys. Like, I'm attracted to boys. I think boys are cute. Like, I'm going through puberty. It is normal. However, my dad was super strict. Extremely strict. I was never allowed to go out. My parents were super strict. I didn't even have a cell phone until I was like 16. I was on lockdown 24/7. Overprotective. If you know my dad, yeah. You know. As I'm going to high school, I started doing sports. I played rugby in high school. I started to get more friends. I'm going out more. I'm getting to know myself. And that's when a lot of things started to happen. And I remember there was a situation that happened where I told my dad I have a crush, because I'm not the type to hide things from my parents, to be honest. Everything definitely just went south from there. My dad didn't take it very well. The situation quickly turned to me being called a hoe for liking a guy, or me being called a slut. I was called a lot of names by my dad, and as a teenager, at the moment, it didn't really mean a lot to me because I wasn't doing those things. When someone constantly calls you that for years, back to back, it definitely starts to destroy your self-esteem and how you think. And like, everything that I'm saying in relation to my father, I don't want anyone to badmouth him, please. This is not the point of the video. this is about my testimony. It's not about talking about other people. This is not what this video is for. I just want to make that clear before I continue. As I was saying, I was constantly called names growing up because I don't even know the reason why. And I don't even think there's a good reason to why. But all I know is that a good chunk of my teenage, preteen, pre-adult life was just that. And it started to destroy the relationship between me and my dad. And I remember getting to a point where I was getting called all sorts. I've heard it all, to be honest. All the derogatory words that you can think of. Heard it all. I was being called that so much that one day I told myself, you know what? They already think that they already think that I'm wilding out. They already think that I'm hoeing around, that I'm just sleeping around with people. So what difference would it make if I actually do? So I started to be very closed off. And throughout high school, end of high school, beginning of college, start to do it. And yeah, I started to do it. My first ever boyfriend, I was definitely in a situation where my boyfriend would tell me, like, if you love me, then you'll do it. If you really care about me, then prove it. It was that. Looking back at it now, I was just broken at such a young age. I would find love within people and in places that I never even thought I would have ended up. It came to a point where, because I was craving attention and love so much from anyone, absolutely anyone, sometimes when I would have intercourse, my emotions were just numb. There was a point where I was in a very serious argument. I went to the bathroom to get away from him. He bust open the bathroom door. We were kind of going back and forth. I shoved him and he was mad. So he put his 2 hands around my neck and he put me against the wall and he started to choke. Ever since then, I didn't care about anything else. If that person was able to do that to me, at that point, I really didn't care who did what to me. It really just felt like I had no value whatsoever. I was in a very dark place, to the point where no one knew where I was. It was very hard for me to even like keep some friendships and like relationships because I didn't care about myself, so it was hard for me to care about other people. The relationship between me and my dad just kept going downhill. It affected everything that I did. There's a lot of things that I am not allowed, that I cannot say on camera for a lot of reasons. So I'm gonna keep it diplomatic. The more that the years went by, the worse that everything became. Fast forward, like, you know, in college, I ended up giving up on school. And at first my excuse was always, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know, I have time, I'm young. But the truth is, I didn't care. It's very hard to care for myself when no one else does. When it felt as if no one else did. And I know that you could have been thinking like, well, you know, Marina, you have friends, you went to a church. Yes, I know, but at the same time, a lot of my friends didn't even know what was going on. I didn't tell them until years later. There came a time where like, I just wasn't talking and everything was very dark. Suicide was knocking at my door a lot. I used to do a lot of self-harm because because that was the only time that I felt something. There was a point where every time I would come home, I didn't even know if I would be able to get inside because the door would be barricaded. There would be furniture at the door so that I couldn't enter, even if I had the key, and the garage was always locked. I wasn't wanted in my household. And I remember doing this one prayer. It was right before my 20th birthday. I told God, God, I don't want money, I don't want a car, I don't want anything. I just know that God, if you are the God that you say that you are, please get me out of this situation. Get me out in a way where if, when I do get out, no one can label it as my fault. That's what he did. Which is the reason why, instead of talking about it, it was easier for me to just be with my friends and making them smile and making them laugh. Because that's the only thing I felt like I had left. Yeah, my makeup is ruined, forget it. Even though I physically got out of that situation, it was still very hard on me. Even sometimes till this day, I think about it, but now I just feel so at peace. Because before, I always felt the need to be defensive. I always felt the need to be, tough. To act tough, to seem tough so that people wouldn't disrespect me, so that people wouldn't hurt me. But in the process of doing that, I was just hurting myself. I was hurting myself by pushing the good people away and letting the bad people in. At some point, I had a very questionable choice of friends. No offense, I love y'all dearly, no judgment. That eventually God just drove away from me, but even my choice in men, I always attracted the unstable ones, the illegal ones, the ones that I had no business even meddling with, the ones that literally put my life in danger, from being with drug dealers to felons and people who were abusive, emotionally abusive, physically, emotionally, and that's over. And I'm thankful that God took me out. Looking back at it now, I'm not gonna lie, all I can do is just smile and laugh. Because even though I am still not sure exactly why God made me go through that, I feel strong. I just feel at peace. I feel like I don't owe anyone no explanation. I don't have to always defend myself. I don't always have to be defensive. God fights my battles. I don't have to fight my battles alone anymore. I am sorry if it feels like I'm not even saying things properly. It's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to have your emotions wind up into it when you've been bottling things inside for so long. God definitely helped with my self-esteem, and I'm so grateful. Because when I look at myself, I know that, I'm a beautiful person, and all that is because of God, because God loves me the way I am, and because of that, I love myself just the way I am as well. And a message to my dad, and to everyone who has hurt me, I forgive you. I wouldn't wish any bad upon you. All I wish is for God to heal you in places, in the darkest places that you maybe have been trying to hide from anyone, and you use that to hurt other people. I pray that God takes that away and turns it into good. Yeah. This is part 1. Stay tuned for part 2.